Good evening. Welcome to SEC Basketball Reaction here at Southeastern 16. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Blake Lovell. Michigan has ended Texas A&M's season in the round of 32 by a final of 91-79. Danny Wolf, Brad Golden, Dusty May, and crew end the season for the Aggies, who had a really nice season. But I think more than that, Blake, I think we'll spend some of our time, at least we should, reflecting on the careers of a lot of A&M guys, Wade Taylor being one of them, because it's not often in this day and age of college basketball that players stick together as long as A&M's core group did and has accomplished as much as it did. And yeah, sad day for A&M basketball, but let's not lose that in all of this either.
Well, yeah, and we'll get to that in a second. It's a disappointing loss, though, and I think the reason why is because the game was playing out the way they needed it to, and then things just kind of changed. And I feel like it's the offensive inefficiencies at times were always going to catch up to them at some point, and I feel like this was the kind of game where, I mean, Michigan scores 56 points in the second half against the top 10 defensive team. And that's where, like, if you're A&M and you just had a couple different elements offensively that are, I just thought they had a string of bad possessions on offense where it was basically, let's just hope that Wade Taylor can hit a Wade Taylor type shot, or let's just hope that Farrell Payne can just keep doing what he's doing. Otherwise, that's where they were, right? There just were not a lot of other options elsewhere that you kind of had offensively. And I think, again, for all the things we talked about this season with them, if we're not going to sit here shocked that that's what caught up to them, was that the defense couldn't be perfect because of the way Michigan was playing, but it just put more pressure on them to have the answers offensively, and they just didn't. And I know you could say, well, they scored 79 points. I think it's how they got there and sort of the possessions that they really needed, where they had to be great on certain offensive possessions and they just weren't in critical moments in the game. And that allowed Michigan to, again, kind of just keep that momentum going. And, I mean, like we said, this was a team offensively this year that had a profile of not a 23-win team. We brought up the percentages time and time again, and if you look at the final percentages in this game, they shoot 38% from the floor, 26% from the free throw line, 69% from the free throw line. I mean, guess what? They were a 69% free throw shooting team this season. Again, the percentages from the floor, their effective field goal percentage was 47.8%, which was 309th coming into this game. And so I just think stuff like that sort of caught up to them in this game where they just could not stop Michigan. Michigan hit some tough shots, and they just didn't have the offense to keep up at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always hesitant to pick a team that can't shoot consistently to go far in the tournament, which is why I didn't have A&M get out of the weekend. But what made this one a really tough matchup, Blake, was how does A&M get so many of its points? Playing volleyball with a backboard until you can knock one in. And this is an unusual team that they faced in Michigan, because you don't often see a team that puts two 7-footers on the floor at the same time. Michigan did that with Vlad Golden, who was the MVP of the Big Ten tournament, and Danny Wolf, who's a mobile big man. And I think the rebounding stats probably told the story as much as any one or two things did. That was 48-39 in Michigan's favor, and that just ended up being a thing that A&M couldn't get past.
Yeah, no, it wasn't going to be. I thought A&M would be the team that was more physical, and I think for a good stretch of this game they were. But then when things started to kind of go there against them, you started to see Michigan get a little bit more of those opportunities and those 50-50 balls and things like that. I just felt like, I don't have the official stat, but I feel like that was definitely something that stood out towards the end of that game. And look, I mean, like I said, give Michigan credit. I mean, Donaldson hits the ridiculous shot there down the end, towards the end. I mean, they hit some tough shots. It wasn't just wide open shots they were getting. So you absolutely have to give Michigan credit for that. But I do think, again, that's where if you're A&M and you just had that one extra shooter, you had that one more just offensive element that I felt like we said, it was Wade Taylor come down. I mean, Taylor hit one that I'm like, oh no, oh yes, like it was one of those where he just came down, 6 feet, 7 feet behind the 3 point line. I feel like he just pulled up, and that was his only made three of the day. By the way, of course it was, right? Like the
Yeah.
one that just seemed like, why is he taking the shot? That was the only one that went in, because he finished 1 of 8 from three. So I just think that's it. Like we've said, I mean, for A&M in the Buzz Williams era, there has been a certain style that you can pretty much know how they're going to play every single season. I mean, back-to-back seasons now, they've been the top offensive rebounding team in the country, top 5, 3 years running. They're going to get to the free throw line a lot. Those are your common elements, but unfortunately, the common element has also just been bad shooting. And I think
Yeah.
that's just one thing. Like, I think in my mind, if they just had one more guy that could just knock down 3 point shots, how different would some of these seasons ended? Because that's been what they're missing. We said last year they shot 29% from three. This year they shoot 31, 325th or lower in both categories. 255 the year before that, 241 the year before that, 315 the year before that, 331 the year before that. So they've not finished, but that's just the style. Like, I mean, they've not finished in the top, basically 250 in 3 point percentage. And so I just think about this team with all these different elements like that, where if they just had one more guy who could make shots from outside, it would be a big difference, perhaps. But they don't.
Well, you can guess my next line, can't you?
What's that?
Come on, you know me.
No, I
I've been
don't.
saying all year I thought that C.J. Wilcher should play more.
Well, I get it, but I think it's just a bigger, like, I don't know, like they just need more. They just, you got to have that element, like, or the game is just, it's just different.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not gonna say they're one dimensional, but it's just like you know what you have to do to beat Texas A&M. I think, and like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Michigan either, because they're the reason they won the game. It wasn't A&M's fault. Michigan made the rally by hitting some tough shots, but also I just think A&M could not hit tough shots. They couldn't hit open shots in some of those instances, and they took some bad shots, like most teams do when you start to feel that pressure a little bit. So,
Well,
yeah,
here's one more thing, and we didn't touch on it. When A&M wins games, other than offensive rebound, it also does what?
I mean, it defends well. I mean, there's probably a
Gets
couple options.
It gets to the foul line.
Oh yeah,
Michigan hit more free throws than
yeah,
the Aggies took today. Like, that going in, then you're going, okay, it's probably going to be a long day for A&M.
yeah. They needed to get there about 40 times today. They got there 26, 18 to 26 from the line. So, yep. But that's just kind of where we're at. So, yeah, I just think that's the disappointing part, is you feel like there are a couple of those elements that if you just have that, this game's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But nonetheless, that's how it finishes for the Aggies. By the way, someone wanted me to put the Southeastern 16 kiss of death on Creighton's 3 point shooting. Yeah, Creighton's the best 3 point shooting team in the world. They probably will go 11 of 11 from the 3 point line in the second half. There you go.
You're welcome, Auburn.
There you have it. So we're trying. So we have it there. So, all right. Let's talk about just A&M as a whole here. We're not going to stay on long. We're kind of going to stay on through the halftime maybe of Auburn and Creighton. Then we're going to get back to that. And, of course, we'll be back on after that. So whatever happens here.
I always hesitate to say it because there's always a loophole or court ruling, but they lose a bunch of these guys, right? They lose Taylor.
I hadn't even thought that far ahead, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. I don't know who they lose. I've not even thought about it.
I'm just curious what the reload looks like for Buzz Williams. I mean, Farrell Payne can come back. I'm just looking at classifications on Ken Palm. Solo Washington can come back. But seniors, according to Ken Palm, and again, I don't know if some of these guys have another year, but Zurich Phelps, Wade Taylor, Manny Obaseki, Henry Coleman, Anderson Garcia, Jace Carter, Hayden Hefner, C.J. Wilcher. That's a lot of seniors. And I'm just really curious, like, what does a portal-heavy approach for him look like? Does he just go get a bunch of blue collar guys like he's already had? Does he try to convince some shooters, hey, come play in this offense? Because that's not really been their trademark. I'm really curious what that's going to look like. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Buzz Williams and the job he's done, because he's done a great job. But they've had a very distinct style of play, and it appears to have a ceiling. And I'm just curious what the moving forward looks like.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to change anything about the way they've done things. I could be wrong, because I think you can just look at the numbers and see that however they reload, it's going to be under those exact same principles. Like, I just feel like, that's just how they've always played, especially since he got to Texas A&M. So I can't imagine it will be that much different. Like I said, I think investing in the three-point shot would not be the worst thing, but I mean, they are an attacking style approach. Like, that is what they do. And it's like, look how many games it's won them. Like, they won a lot of games. I mean, 27 4 years ago, 25 3 years ago, 21 2 years ago, 23 this year. Like, whatever. Like, they've won a lot of games. It's just, like we said, I think when you get these kind of matchups, and by the way, too, I mean, it's like you're playing the Big Ten right now. Does anybody want to play the Big Ten right now? They haven't lost. Like, no. These teams just keep winning. So that is also something where it's like, maybe give a little credit to the Big Ten too. But I think that's kind of where we settle with A&M. I think they'll reload the same way they always do, and we'll see if there are a couple tiny tweaks somewhere. But I've just got to believe they're going to keep the same principles in place and try to do it that way, because they won games. It's just kind of, I don't know. So
his last year at Virginia Tech, they finished 11th in adjusted offensive efficiency and shot 39% from three. I'd forgotten that. They were ninth in the country in three-point percentage. So it's not like the guy doesn't have other ways to win. And maybe that's it.
A&M,
maybe it's just – well, and look, you're not going to – when Wade Taylor and some of those guys are doing what they've done, you're not going to cast them aside for the parts in the portal. At some point, you just kind of got to ride with the style you've made, and, maybe that was all there was to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that might mean but here's the question too. Like, this is his sixth season at A&M. They've not gotten out of the first weekend of the tournament yet, right? And I think that's, I'm just curious what A&M fans think about that, because when you are winning a lot of games, I think that's something that's going to stand out a little bit, because that is the goal, right? So I don't know. I'm curious their thoughts.
It's true. Billy Kennedy is the last guy to take them far in the tournament. That was the 2016 team that wasn't there a buzzer beater involved in there, or a big comeback or something?
That was the Northern Iowa game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And they, and Kennedy, I'm looking at it, they went 28-9 that one year, but that was really his only. Well, no, he went to the Sweet 16 in 2018.
Yeah.
But other than that, they did very little. I mean, Buzz at least has got the floor higher than Kennedy had it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, I mean, they win a lot more games maybe, but like, again, some of those Billy Kennedy teams were outstanding. But nonetheless, I mean, I think it's going to be disappointing for that reason. They were the higher seed. Anytime you're the higher seed and you lose before the Sweet 16, I think that's going to be a disappointing outcome for the Aggies, or anyone in that scenario. So,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, but so the SEC loses one here. Like we said, these are tough matchups, and of course, Auburn fans are seeing that right now with Creighton. We said Creighton's playing their best basketball of the season. Look out if they start hitting shots, and what do you know? They're hitting shots right now. But like I said, they're going to make every single three in the second half. They're not going to miss one. They're going to finish the game with 20 made three-pointers. 20 made three-pointers. I'm going to keep saying that. Yeah, that's kind of where we are with that. But all right, so I think we're gonna hop off.
There's one other thing you need to say.
What else do I need to say?
Starts with a B.
Oh, bracket bids. Yeah, you guys getting in on the free pick'em contest over there. getting some wins out of that. Yeah, enjoying your auction draft leagues, all that good stuff with our friends over at BracketBids. Remember, download that BracketBids app. Visit them at bracketbids.com. Check it all out there. Some of you guys, I know, having some fun over there with what they've got going on at BracketBids. So be sure to check that out. By the way, Rusty jumped in here earlier. Forgot to mention this. Rusty was here, was at the baseball game. So he decided to jump back on, watch the reaction we did for Arkansas getting the win. Yeah, so that is kind of where we're at on that. With Rusty, a long-timer, enjoying another March win for the Hogs. What about that with Rusty? All right, Mother Carol, $5 super chat. If the SEC team wins the tournament, will Blake take his hat off in celebration? The chat needs to know. Yes, I will for you, Mother Carol. I'll do anything for you. You know that. So, yes, I absolutely will. Just for you. Mother Carol's yelling at me, too. Read my super chat. Mother Carol is just... She's excited. She's getting ready for the Cats to play tomorrow.
Come on, Mother Carol. He's not deaf.
She's excited. So, there you go. All right. We're out of here.
Yeah. Back for Auburn and Creighton wrap up here in about an hour or so. Until then, I'm Chris Lee. He's Blake Lovell. You've been watching our hoops content here at Southeastern 16.